So Brimstone Sands is actually here, and I just want to show you guys some quick and hopefully easy ways to make gold while you're out and about playing. Before we jump in though, I just want to give a big shout out to my YouTube members. Thank you so much to you guys, I do honestly appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, that's the best way to do so. So we are going to look at some things that are simply basic farming, as well as taking that up another level. So let me explain. There's three main things that you can go out and very easily farm, and they obviously have different values depending on your server, okay? So one of the first things that you can farm is aloe gel. Now these come from the succulent plants, which you can get in the young and the mature variety. Now there seems to be two relatively easy places to farm these. One of them is here, so let me show you where I am on the map. You can literally do this from this spirit shrine, okay? So it's actually quite easy to get to. However, it is the one right up in the northwest part of the map. This entire area is actually quite good for them. So literally, I mean, you know, you get some young ones, of course. Now watch me not get some. There you go, I got 2 aloe gels just from that one, and I think on my server right now they're worth maybe like 3 gold each. It might not be the most, you know, effective way in the universe, but it's actually quite decent. You get the gel, and you can use that in future for some stuff that we're going to talk about in a moment. Another good place for these succulents is right down here, sort of at the entrance of Brimstone Sands. There's this shrine here, the Dead Water Way. You can literally just go there, and within, I don't know, maybe like 30 seconds, you're in this location, and you can see there's quite a few of these succulents here as well. Now, there are others on the map, but generally the other ones are sort of surrounded by enemies. Here, you can literally just farm them all, wait till they respawn, and, you know, clear out the aloe gel, basically. So if you want aloe gel, very easy places to get to. Sort of good gold right now. Not like amazing gold, but decent enough. While we're here, we'll talk about cactus flesh. Cactus flesh is going for like a little bit less, but it's a little bit easy to find because it's absolutely everywhere. You can literally just go to any cactus, you know, and you'll chop it down or whatever it is, and you'll very likely get some cactus flesh. So it's going for, I think on my server at the minute, it's like 2 gold each. So not going to break the bank, but actually it's a bit easier to get, like, quite readily. Who's going to want to sit there and just chop down trees all day effectively? Well, if you do, you can get some cactus flesh, and that's going for good gold right now. I suspect that this will drop over time quite rapidly. And then the next thing we want to talk about, I've literally just ran about 10 seconds away from those cactuses, is chitin, which I want to call chitin, but it's actually chitin, I believe. I googled it. Now, these chitin parts basically drop from these. Well, I think you actually have to skin them, so what I'll do is I'll kill one of them. Well, these ones are elites, but I don't think you necessarily have to have elite versions. I think there's normal versions just around the map, but basically you kill them. As I skin it, hopefully I'll get some chitin parts, and we got some prime scorpion meat, which I don't know the value of right now, but once the new food starts trickling through, that could actually become good value as well. Now these chitin parts on my server, I'm pretty sure are going for about 7 gold right now. Not as quick as the other stuff, but obviously you get more bang for your buck, so I'll just take these down and we'll see how many we've got. I mean, if you're semi like decently geared score, these like silver elites are not going to be any kind of challenge. You know, you can take 2 down at a time there relatively easily, and then if I skin them, I'm just getting 1 chitin part each time basically, which is, you know, not bad. I think, did I get 2 there? I think I got 2 there. So they're pretty much everywhere on the map. Like, just looking at New World Database and looking at the map genie on there, you can see these medium ones pretty much absolutely everywhere, and it's a similar story just for the normal scorpions. So for these chitin parts, yeah, they're relatively easy to get. Decent gold at like 7 gold a pop. That price will obviously vary on your server, but what you can do with all this stuff is pretty important. Well, just to say, my server right now is one of the new servers. It's not fresh because there are no fresh servers right now, but it's one of the new ones that was created to help server queues. Now there is actually quite a lot of low levels on this server, as well as some people who are literally just here to avoid queues, me being one of them. So prices may vary strongly depending on what server you're on. But let's say I come to the trading post. Let's have a look at aloe gel first, perhaps. This was going for 3 gold earlier. It's no, well, there's somebody's put a lot of them up for 250, but in theory, you know, if you needed some, you could buy that out, try and sell it for 3 gold, whatever, you know what you're doing. But, you know, decent gold there if you wanted to get them. And then let's have a look at cactus flesh. Cactus flesh, it was going for 2 gold earlier, it's now dropped. You can sort of see, I think the prices are sort of dropping quite quickly, so see if it's actually worth your effort. At the moment, it might actually be worth just going back in the normal old world and farming basically something like iron. Something like that will still hold its value because people will be trying to craft. And then finally, we will have a look at these chitin parts. These have gone up. So they were like 7 gold, and now on my server it's like 13 gold. So these I think are going to be in more demand because I don't know, it just feels like they're a little bit rarer to get for some reason, because you can't just go out and farm them very, very easily. You have to go and kill mobs and stuff like that. So these at the minute are probably your best bang for your buck, but just decide if it's something you want to do. Yeah, so if you went and got those resources, well, there's two things you can do. You can either just flat out sell them, or there's something you might want to do if you want to farm other materials, because with literally those materials and some extra materials, you can make some acid resistance gear or the paddings, which we'll talk about in a moment, and they will help you farm sulfur, which you get from Brimstone nodes. So without going into a lot of detail, I watched like a Duke Sloth video and he was talking about acid resistant and which one's actually best for this. I'll just tell you what I concluded. I'm not smart enough to fully understand everything, and I'll show you what I did. So basically, if you want to go to these acid pools, which sort of look like this on the map, they have this icon and they're in a few different places. For example, there's one here, and one over here. I think there's one over here, but maybe I've just not unlocked it yet. But yeah, maybe that's it. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I've just not done it. Let me just decline this invite. And effectively, at these acid pools, there's this water, which if you get in, will hurt you. So you want some acid resistance, okay? So there are some acid tinctures that you can get, which, if I'm honest, they don't seem like the best bang for your buck. That's what Duke Sloth was saying as well, and I completely agree with that. They only last 300 seconds. They're okay in a pinch, but personally, I wouldn't really bother with them. So what I did was I got some gear, only like relatively cheap gear. You can see this is even like 590. It's probably hurting me quite a bit, and I don't really need the intelligence on it or whatever, but you know, basically I just bought some heavy gear. You can buy whatever you like, don't really matter, and I slotted them with these chitin paddings. Sorry, I may say chitin because it's just in my head, and it gives me a lot of acid resistance. I probably don't need it all, and also there's an issue apparently where the corruption resistance is also working against acid resistance, so I just looked for some cheat gear with that on it. You know, you don't have to do that, that'll probably get fixed. Now the interesting thing is with these chitin parts, right, and these chitin paddings, you craft them at the tannery. Well, what you actually do is you craft these chitin plates at the tannery, and you can see it actually requires 8 chitin parts. So just that alone on my server at the minute would cost you what, pretty much 100 gold. And then once you've got this chitin plate, you take it to a forge. At the forge, you can craft some chitin paddings. Now you can see what materials you need here. You need the chitin plate, some aloe gel, granted it's not a shed ton, and some cactus flesh, which is a bit more, but it's also not that hard to get. The key thing here is that it requires 3 runic leather and 3 phoenix weave. On this server that I'm on, that's about 1,000 gold. So whether or not you think it's worth basically kitting yourself out with these paddings, you probably don't need 5. To be fair, you probably can get away with maybe like 3. That's really a question depending on how much you're going to farm, okay? So once you actually get to the sulfur pools, there's 2 things you're basically looking for, right? You're looking for the brimstone nodes, which are going to give you sulfur chunks. Sulfur on my server is going for quite a bit. I think that's actually going to hold its value like pretty well, so you might want to be looking at that. But there's also some chests there. So let's just quickly talk about the brimstone nodes, the sulfur. You can very often just mine this without actually stepping into the acid pools. If you basically pull any mob, then what you want to do is run away from the pool, get the mob out of the pool, kill the mob, and then just go back to the brimstone, okay? That way you'll get some sulfur chunks. You don't necessarily need the acid resistance for that, but it will help you just in general because it's quite an annoying area. It's actually sort of quite difficult, I think. It's not an easy gameplay loop, basically. You're going to have to pay attention. What happens is if you stand in the water, your acid resistance starts going down, and if it goes all the way to 0, you start getting acid burned, and then you'll take a lot of damage. You already take damage just from the water itself, but if you get acid burned, you're going to almost assuredly die. So the acid resistance is basically going to stop that going down so much, so you can get in and get out quite quickly. As I said, not necessarily required for the sulfur, but for the chests it is. Now these chests are basically, well, there's quite a few different ones around the map, but these are elite ancient offerings, I believe they're called, and they're that classic chest at the minute where you go, you open it once, it spawns a mob, you kill the mob, and then you can get the actual reward, okay? Again, with the NPC that spawns, you probably want to run away from the acid water, get it out of the water, kill it, and then go back to the chest. You pretty much have to stand in the water to get these chests, and if you don't have acid resistance, you will die. However, these chests are pretty important because these appear to be the best way of getting golden scarabs. I personally didn't manage to find one, but if you did, well then I would get 9,000 gold because that's how much they were on my server. That would very easily pay back the chitin paddings, for example, so it is something you might want to consider. So really that's the choice you have. You can go get the sort of basic materials, the aloe gel, the cactus flesh, the chitin parts, or you can maybe then go ahead and sneak in for the sulfur. That's up to you if you want to do that as well, or you can properly buy in, get a set of gear, or but pretty much just the chitin paddings with like a different set of gear or whatever, and use that to go get more sulfur and to go get these elite offerings that are going to possibly be the best way of getting the golden scarabs, which will be a very nice payday. Or of course you can use them yourself. That question I can't really answer for you. It's up to you. It depends how much you're going to farm. Now, I spoke about the golden scarabs. There's actually another way of getting the golden scarabs because there's a different type of chest. There are these rune chests, I'm going to call them, which basically you need to have the actual associated rune before you can open these rune chests. If you find a rune chest but you've not actually read the rune, then you literally can't get in it. But if you've unlocked the rune around the map, then you can actually just go ahead. Now that's apparently a way of getting the golden scarab as well. Perhaps not quite as good as the elite ones in the pools, but also a decent way. They apparently are actually quite good chests in the sense that they have like trophy mats and all that kind of good stuff, right? So getting and unlocking your runes probably something you want to do so that whenever you come across one of these chests, you know, you can open it. You can see here on New World Map, basically what I've done is I've filtered it to these runes, which I think are in the special resources, and then in the chest there's these kind of glyph chests, right? So these chests are the ones that are going to have potential for golden scarabs, but you obviously need the associated rune. This tells you where they are. Okay, now while we're on this map, I will say that if you go in chests and you go to these grave offerings, not all of these grave offerings are the same. So for example, over here, I was here just early today, these grave offerings here are not the elite version, so you do not get the good stuff. Basically, I don't think you're going to get a golden scarab from, where the ones at the pools generally are. Okay, that's important. So don't go chasing for these ones because you're just not going to get the good stuff. Now, it doesn't seem like you can actually tell which is which at the moment. I'm sort of hoping maybe at some point somebody will add that to New World Map or Map Genie or something like that. At the moment, that doesn't seem to be like very obvious. So I'm personally just sticking with opening these grave offering ones. Keep in mind, all of these chests have cooldowns. I think the grave offerings might be like a bit shorter than the rune chests, but I'm not actually 100% sure of the timing. So that's it. There's probably, you know, some guy out there who's just farming an absolute shed ton of iron and making it in. But I think for most people who are actually playing the Brimstone Sands part of Brimstone Sands update, these are the kind of areas you want to concentrate on if you're trying to get gold from that kind of content. Unlock your runes, that's definitely going to be a basic thing you're going to want to do. Whether or not you're going to actually want to farm the chitin parts, aloe gel and the cactus flesh, maybe not. It depends. You could just buy it if you really need it. The one I didn't really mention is sandstone. I personally not really seen in a reliable place where you can go and farm that, but that's probably going to be good value as well because you need it for charged sand, which you need in terms for rune glasses. So, you know, there's some good stuff there if you can get it. Basically, if you see any sandstone, go ahead and mine it. You might as well. There's no harm. And then these sulfur pools, I think in the like short to medium term, these are potentially like where the big money's going to be made. It's just a question of whether or not you're going to want to invest and do it properly, or maybe you just want to skirt around the edges and get the sulfur. Really, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer there. It sort of depends on how intensely you want to farm. So that's what I've seen when it comes to gold right now. When I was recording footage for this video, I actually saw somebody else had made a very similar video, unfortunately, but I still wanted to make mine. That person was 4Joe618. I will leave a link to their video because they talk about some stuff that I don't talk about, and actually you should go ahead and subscribe to the channel anyway because makes great content, so please go ahead and do that. I'll also leave a link to Duke's Lost video where he's talking about the acid that I didn't quite understand, and hopefully I just took away the core principles from. Let me know your thoughts. Did I miss any obvious gold maker? Do put it in the comments. If somebody's put something really good, I'll steal it and put it in the pinned comment. Okay, another big shout out to my YouTube members. I do truly appreciate you guys. If you want to support the channel and you want to see more, that's the best way to do it. Okay, what you should definitely do though is have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.